we're back on book 1, which is named Destiny. I hope you enjoyed the introduction and the foreword. Now here we go. Letter to the reader. Dear reader, this is the journey of a little girl named Carla Rosa. Her adopted mother calls her Rosy. Rosy is curious about her surroundings and the culture she is born into. She loves to ask questions and is always curious about one question that keeps surfacing in her heart and mind about who she is. This is because she is a foundling, a child of the wheel. Her adopted parents, Maria and Giuseppe, took her when she was an infant, as Maria had also given birth to a daughter who had passed away at birth, and she had heard the whispers of the village that there was a little girl who had been left at the wheel. The despair of losing a child was bleak. Their eyes locked when Maria saw Carla Rosa. That moment, Maria knew that God had heard and answered her prayer. Suddenly, she felt the pain ease from her as if an angel had been there to take away the pain. And this was the divine purpose for it all. Maria had found out later that Rosy was born on the same day as her little girl. And deep down inside, Maria had an inkling of who was Rosy's birth mother. Margherita was a single mother who was taken up to the Madonna mountains to a little town called Polizia Generosa by her servants to reach the entire term of her pregnancy and then give birth to the child. Her destiny was to be a foundling. Maria slowly put her arms out as Nunziata. Nunziata is the lady of the wheel who takes care of all the children of the wheel. Gave her the child. She sat down and looked at Rosy, just like all mothers do when they have been given their child from the midwife. Maria unzipped her shirt and breastfed Rosy for the first time. In this very moment, there was nothing else that mattered. Polizia Generosa is a small town in the metropolitan city of Palermo in the south of Sicily. The town sits in the hills about 3,000 feet above sea level, which is about 1,000 meters. The town of Polizia was known as the drop-off place where abandoned infants were left in a basket and taken in by the church. And the orphanage or the people of the village would take a child depending on their circumstances. Rosy's birth mother is from an island near Sicily called Favignana. Favignana is located on the coastline off the northwestern coast of Sicily. It was called Aigusa, meaning goat island in Greek. The word Favignana is derived from Favonio and the Italian name for the foreign wind. It has been captured by Arabs who constructed the castle on the top of the tallest hill called Santa Caterina, soon after the Normans took possession of the island and built fortifications there in 1081. Under the Aragonese rulers of Sicily, Favignana and the other Aegean islands were hired out to the Genoese merchants in the 15th century. The islands were granted to Giovanni di Carisma, who adopted the grand title of Baron of Tuna. Plentiful tuna found offshore were first exploited systematically by the Spanish from the 17th century onwards. Favignana is the largest of the 3 principal Egadi islands with a land area of 19.8 kilometres. The island has been described as having a butterfly shape. Abandoning the child at the wheel, this was what was done. There was a wheel where you leave the child in the basket, and there was a rope that you will pull that is attached to the wheel and the basket. When you pulled the rope, the church bell rang. And the person in charge, in this case, the lady of the wheel, which was Nunziata, is made aware that there is an infant and immediately goes to it. And the rope is attached to the church bell. Not only does the church know, but the whole entire community is aware that a child has been left at the wheel. The saying comes from this: it takes a village to raise a child. Children that could not be looked after by their parents or were in poverty, or cases of unwed mothers, it was a way the church and the community could raise and look after their village. Many nursing mothers with plenty of milk would feed the babies until they could find a home. They were called the wet nurses, and these women fed many children. The comune would pay them, and this was a way of bringing food into their homes. My father was also breastfed by his auntie in a small town of Falcone, Sicily, and he always talked about this beloved auntie until the day he passed away, as his mum didn't have enough breast milk, and so it was very common in those times of poverty that there wasn't any, instant milk or anything like that. So it was very common that an auntie or someone nearby would help breastfeed. When the child was abandoned at the wheel in the local village, the mother or father left a sign from their family. Some were given gold tokens, cards, Madonna's cards, some ring, etc. Rosy given a gift by her birth mother, a necklace. This would be Margherita's way of identifying her daughter when the tides of time would permit her to reclaim her. If the birth parents' circumstances had changed, they would usually come back to the church or the comune and say that they had left a child either with a card, a brooch, a blanket, a piece of a dress, socks, shoes, a token, and that was left in the basket. The children that were given the names that were found as a foundling were called Trovatello, which means foundling, Trovato, which means found, Proietto, which means cast off or thrown away, Abbandonata, which means abandoned, Esposto, Esposito, exposed. These are just a few of the names. I've also just found in research that Amato is actually a name of the wheel, which means loved, beloved, which is my maiden name. This would be their surname. Eventually laws through the years have changed. Civil records were and are open to the public, where citizens can go to the town hall, the comune, and ask to see them. So in the past, we did a video with Lucia, and they weren't allowed to find them. They weren't allowed to go there to the civil and find anything. So they've just been opened, which makes it a lot easier for people that want to find their genealogy and find their birth parents, or find if there actually are any other family around. The birth parents can go there and say that they've left them on a specific date with the description of what they left in the basket. This was a global epidemic all over Europe, and today still children are left abandoned at the hospital, where there are devices that are baby hatches, chutes, where a woman can legally abandon their child. How many have been abandoned, left on the side of the road? Even today in the 21st century, we still have the challenges in these areas. Maria will give her necklace when she knows it's time to explain to Rosy about her past. Maria fell in love with her the moment she saw her. Rosy's eyes are like the Aegean Islands, the colour of the mountains of Sicily, with the tinges of auburn, red hair like the fire of Mount Etna. and skin as white as the Dolomite Alps in Italy. Maria called her Cala Rosa. The moment she gazed eyes on this baby with her red hair, she knew that both their lives would never be the same. Maria did not realize at the time of her naming Rosy that Cala Rosa means Red Bay, which is often referred to the island of Favignana. How bizarre that Maria would call her this name. What was this, the plan from God for Rosy's life to be this way? This is her journey. Rosy felt something was happening to her as she started to grow, and as always searching for the familiarity that all children search for in their families. She asks everyone and everything around her, as she is not shy and always wants to know answers. Rosy decides to go on an adventure, searching for the question that keeps buzzing in her head, deep down inside, without verbalizing her environment. She knows that her family loves her very much. She just wants to find that resting place within her that will give her the growth to become. Who am I? Is her biggest question. It will be her journey to uncover and discover her true self. She is always inquisitive about her family, keeps looking at her mother and father, and is trying to find resemblance in herself. She looks at her nonna, and in her curiosity she discovers that there is a tiny bud that is her sense of self. This is her journey to find that bud in her and grow it, no matter what her environment is or what others think. Rosy is mature enough as an 8-year-old to know that the truth will set her free, even though she cannot express it. As her nonna always tells her, that we are born from a seed, and it depends on the seed itself and what is in it. This is what becomes. In this, you dare to shape your seed in the direction you want to grow. Nonno Giovanni says you will only know what kind of seed it is when it has reached its full bloom. In her chats with her nonno Giovanni, the seed starts to take shape within her. Rosy doesn't know that yet, as this is the discovery that she will find in time. She asks everyone, including the King of the universe. She has been told about him all her life, and never really asks who she is, knowing that it would be a silly question, as her mother Maria's faith is what keeps her going in life. She always tells her about God, so she finally gets the courage to speak out to her environment and decides that it is time to talk to him. Knowing that her mother always says, when you are ready, he is there and will come and find you when you're ready. She had heard of him and often prayed to him in secret, but did not understand who he was. Finally, after asking and searching, she decided it was time to ask herself this question. Rosy discovers an inner voice that has been waiting for her to talk, and finds the voice within, the companion who reveals the truth to her. She decides within herself that her journey is to discover and create her life. It is a gift from the King. At such a young age, Rosy knows that she can choose to either be angry or accept her fate and change the course of her destiny. This is the beginning of Cala Rosa's journey, and Rosy will discover that she is captainess of her fate. No matter what lies ahead, Rosy finds peace within her life, and within this peace she knows that her questions will be answered through the tides of time. This is Nonna's Caterina's hot prince of wisdom that flows through Rosy. When Caterina left her little girl, Margherita left her little girl to the wheel, she left her nonna Caterina's necklace in the basket. She knew that this would one day be the key. As she watched in the far distance with her servants, Every day looking at the door of the comune to the church, she saw Maria walking in the cobble street of Via Garibaldi, carrying a truckload of pain that only a mother who has lost, one that she knew quite well. Instantly, it was as if an angel had whispered to her grieving heart, "This woman will be the mother of your daughter." So I want to share with you Margherita's call, that each one of us has a call in our life and a song that comes with it. And I wanted to create something that had the Italian nursery song Ninna, Nanna and Dorme, Dorme in it. So I created something that went with it. So, Madonna della nonna, ascolta questa preghiera con fede e speranza. Dormi, dormi mamma, fai la ninna, ninna, nanna, ricordati la collana. Sei il Regno di Favignana.